We're entering into what I think might be the most interesting two chapters of the book of Revelation, chapters 17 and 18. Today we'll do chapter 17, next week chapter 18, but these two chapters are actually together. It could be one chapter, yet they're just so long they're divided into two. And these two chapters, 17 and 18, are all about Mystery Babylon the Great. And so chapter 17 is about spiritual Babylon, whereas chapter 18 is about what we'll call commercial Babylon. And although it's two different systems, they have one headquarters, which is Mystery Babylon. And we'll talk about what that is. So Revelation 17, Verse 1, hope you have a Bible with you, and be sure to take some notes and send this link to somebody to join you in our study. Revelation 17:1. One of the seven angels who had the seven bowls came and said to me, "Come, I will show you the punishment of the great prostitute who sits by many waters. With her, the kings of the earth committed adultery, and the inhabitants of the earth were intoxicated with the wine of her adulteries." Then the angel carried me away in the spirit into a wilderness. There I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was covered with blasphemous names and had 7 heads and 10 horns. Now, we've seen this before. The woman was dressed in purple and scarlet and was glittering with gold, precious stones, and pearls. She held a golden cup in her hand filled with abominable things and the filth of her adulteries. The name written on her forehead was a mystery: Babylon the Great, the mother of prostitutes and the abominations of the earth. I saw that the woman was drunk with the blood of God's holy people, the blood of those who bore the testimony of Jesus Christ. All right, so that's a lot. That's a lot in those first 6 verses. But let's start with Babylon. And to understand future Babylon, first you have to have an understanding of historic, or we'll call it ancient Babylon. In the Bible, the Old Testament in particular, except for the city of Jerusalem, Babylon is mentioned more often than any other city. In fact, Babylon's referred to over 300 times in the Bible. There are 404 verses in the book of Revelation. 42 of those verses are all about Babylon. So about 10% of the book of Revelation is all about Babylon. Now, ancient Babylon was quite incredible, located in modern-day Iraq. It had one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world with its hanging gardens. The city of Babylon was built off of the great river, the river Euphrates, which we talked about last time in chapter 16. What was amazing about Babylon, it was built off the Euphrates River, but the walls of Babylon were incredible. Said to have been around somewhere 320 feet high. But what's more impressive than the 320 feet high is the 87 feet wide, the walls. And in Babylon, they would have chariot races on top of the walls. That's how wide the walls were. That's how high the walls were. It was known as an impenetrable city. Now, 60 years before Babylon fell, the prophet Isaiah prophesied that the great empire Babylon would be overtaken by another empire. And 150 years before the fall of Babylon, the prophet Isaiah stated that the king, his name would be Cyrus, which is amazing because Scripture pinpointed the fall of Babylon and who would take down Babylon, yet Scripture has also prophesied the resurgence of a coming Babylon. And the reason that Babylon is so important, there's like Jerusalem and there's Babylon. One is the city of God, and one is the city of man, of false religion. It is in Babylon that man-made pagan religion is given its birth. And this is important to understand about the terminology prostitute. What we read here about Babylon is not sexual immorality. Adultery here is referring to idolatry, spiritual idolatry. Do me a favor now, go to Genesis chapter 10. We're going to read about the founding of the city of Babylon and the beginning of false pagan religion. Genesis 10, verse 8, it says, Cush was the father of Nimrod. Nimrod's very important here, who became a mighty warrior on the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. That is why it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. The first centers of his kingdom were Babylon, Urk, Akdad, and Calneh in Shinar. Now, Nimrod is Noah's great-grandson. And Nimrod will lead the building of the famous story that you know, the Tower of Babel, which is located at Babylon. Now, Nimrod's name, it means rebellious one. And we read that he was a mighty hunter before the Lord. In Hebrew, before there, it literally means in the face of the Lord. So Nimrod's not a good guy at all. Now hop over to Genesis chapter 11. Look at verse 1. Now the whole world had one language and a common speech. As people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar, and they settled there. They said to each other, Come, let us make bricks and let's bake them thoroughly. They used brick instead of stone and tar for mortar. Then they said, Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we'll be scattered over the whole face of the earth. Here's what's interesting. When Noah got off the boat, God told him and his descendants to scatter all over the earth and to repopulate. But now the descendants of Noah are saying, we're not going to scatter. We're going to come to one place, Babylon. We're going to build a tower up to the heavens. We're going to make a name for ourselves. Verse 5. But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower that the people were building. The Lord said, it's as if one people speaking the same language, they've begun to do this. Then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language, so that they will not understand each other. So the Lord scattered them from there over all the earth. They stopped building the city. That is why it is called Babel, because the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From there, the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth. So this is what you'll find interesting. Occult worship, false religion, all traces itself back to Babel or to Babylon. And I got a chart for you of the foundations of man-made religion. Number one about man-made religion is faithlessness, the rejection of God's promise. Secondly, disobedience, the rebellion against God's commands. And then number three, you'll find this interesting, legalism, the refusal of God's grace. This is the foundation of false religion. Well, false religion is birthed here in Babel, in ancient Babylon. You have this legend about Nimrod. He marries a woman named Samarius. Samarius and Nimrod have a son named Tammuz. Tammuz is said to have been gored to death by a boar, but supernaturally resurrected back to life. In fact, Ezekiel chapter 14 mentions Tammuz. Then he brought to me the entrance of the north gate of the house of the Lord, and I saw a woman sitting there mourning the god Tammuz. All right, so here we have in Shinar, the worship of Tammuz and his mother became a real thing. So look at this chart that I'm going to show you of the mother-son combo of false religion. In Assyria, It was referred to as Ishtar and Tammuz, this mother-son goddess and god combo. The Canaanites, Ashtoreth and Baal. In Egypt, it was referred to as Isis and Horus. In Greece, it was Aphrodite and Eris. And to the Romans, they used the terms Venus and Cupid. But this false religion of mother-son combo is birthed in Babylon, because false religion finds its birthplace in Babylon. Here's what's interesting. False religion is birthed in Babylon, but what we will see, false religion is once and for all put to death in Mystery Babylon. False religion's a powerful thing, though. I think it was 1844 that Karl Marx said that religion is the opium of the people. False religion is intoxicating, and it can make people do some of the craziest, wildest things. And the kings of the earth have typically always used false religion to control people. Now, here in Revelation chapter 17, we've got the prostitute. She represents false religion, past, present, future. Revelation 17:1, let me read it to you again. One of the seven angels who had the seven bowls came and said to me, "Come, I will show you the punishment of the great prostitute who sits by many waters, global influence." Revelation 17:15, let me read that to you. Then the angel said to me, "The waters you saw, where the prostitute sits, are peoples, multitudes, nations, and language." So remember, the sea of humanity. And this false religion, though, it's global. Look back at verse 2. With her, the kings of the earth committed adultery, spiritual adultery, idolatry. And the inhabitants of the earth were intoxicated with the wine of her adulteries, because false religion, it can give you a high like wine and drugs cannot do. Verse 3, then the angel carried me away in the spirit into a wilderness. There I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was covered with blasphemous names and had 7 heads and 10 horns. Now, we've already studied this 7 heads, 10 horns image that we are constantly revisiting in the book of Revelation. So if you'll just remember, the 7 heads are the 7 empires that have persecuted or will persecute the nation of Israel. Number 1, Egypt. 2, Assyria. 3, Babylon. 4, Persia. 5, Greece. 6, Rome. And number 7 will be the future empire consisting of 10 horns. Now, this empire, if you'll remember, this coming empire, resembles the leopard, the bear, and the lion. And in Daniel chapter 7, we're given the 4 beasts, the 4 empires, the 4 kingdoms and kings. You got the lion, Babylon, you got the bear, Persia, you got the leopard, Greece, and then the 10 horns is this coming one world empire that is going to have a one world religion, a one world economy. And this is where we're at in the book of Revelation. So look at verse 4. Revelation 17:4. The woman was dressed in purple and scarlet and was glittering with gold, precious stones, and pearls. She held a golden cup in her hand filled with abominable things and the filth of her adulteries. So this represents royalty, wealth. Verse 5, the name written on her forehead was a mystery. Babylon the Great, mother of prostitutes and of abominations of the earth. Why? Because false religion began in Babylon. I saw that the woman was drunk with the blood of God's holy people and the blood of those who bore testimony to Jesus. What does false religion always do historically? Attacks true religion. False religion always attacks God's people. Revelation 17:7. Look at this. Then the angel said to me, why are you astonished? I will explain to you the mystery of the woman and the beast that she rides, which has the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast which you saw," this is important, "once was, now is not, and yet will come up out of the abyss and go to its destruction. The inhabitants of the earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life from the creation of the world, will be astonished when they see the beast, because it once was, now is not, and yet will come. This calls for a mind with wisdom." Amen. May the Lord give you and I wisdom to understand what he is saying here. Okay, pay attention closely. The 7 heads. So we're talking about the wisdom here. And let's go to verse number 8. Let me read it to you again. Verse number 8, Revelation 17. "The beast which you saw once was, now is not, and yet will come up out of the abyss and go to its destruction. The inhabitants of the earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life from the creation of the world, will be astonished when they see the beast, because it once was, now is not, and yet will come." This calls for a mind with wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 hills on which the woman sits. They are also 7 kings. Okay. 5 have fallen. 1 is. The other has not yet come. So these 7 heads, these 7 hills are 7 kings. 5 have fallen. 1 is. 1 will to come. He must remain only for a little while. The beast who once was and now is not is an 8th king. He belongs to the 7 and is going to his destruction. The 10 horns you saw are 10 kings who have not yet received a kingdom, but who for 1 hour will receive authority as kings along with the beast. They have one purpose, and they will give their power and authority to the beast. They will wage war against the Lamb, but the Lamb will triumph over them, because he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and with him will be his called, that's you and me, chosen and faithful followers. All right, let me do my best to try to help you understand what is coming, because there's a lot. You've got the great prostitute. She sits on 7 mountains, 7 hills. These are 7 kingdoms. We're told 5 have fallen, 1 is, 1 is to come. All right, so the 5 that have already fallen: Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Persia, and Greece. Those 5 had fallen. When John is writing, there is 1 that remains: the Roman Empire. But the Roman Empire, we're told, will fall, which it did fall. And when the Roman Empire falls, the one that is, there will be 1 to come. The 1 to come is this 10 nations or 10 regions that make up a global confederation. So here's what will happen in the future, and I believe in the very near future. We have hundreds of individual nations today. There will come a point when the globe will be divided up into 10 regions, and there will be 10 kings ruling these 10 regions. Now, there is an evil entity called the World Economic Forum that has been, since I believe 1972, been calling for the world to be divided up into not hundreds of nations, but into 10 economic regions. The World Economic Forum has already given out what these 10 regions will look like. One of the regions is something that's being talked about in our day today. One of the regions is the United States, Canada, and Greenland. And so that is a region that the World Economic Forum says would be one of the economic regions. And so at some point, I don't know when, could be very soon, maybe not so soon, the world will be divided up into 10 regions. There will be 10 kings, and these 10 kings will have power for 1 hour, very short period of time. And the Bible says these 10 kings have one purpose. They will give their power to the beast. That is how one person can come to control the entire world. At this point where we're living today, one person couldn't control the world. There's too many nation states. There's too many rogue leaders. You got North Korea and Russia and the United States. There's too many rogue leaders. One person couldn't control the entire world. But when the world becomes 10 regions, and there are 10 kings, 10 leaders, and these 10 kings will give their power over to one. That will be the beast, and that is how he'll control everything. Look at verse 14. They will wage war against the Lamb, but the Lamb will triumph over them, because he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and with him will be his called, chosen, and faithful followers. So who's going to win? Jesus is going to win. Yes, the globe will become 10 regions, one global confederation. The beast will arise, and these kings will give their power over to him. They will wage war against the Lamb, but they will not be successful. Verse 15. Then the angel said to me, the waters you saw where the prostitute sits are peoples, multitudes, nations, and languages. The beast and the 10 horns you saw will hate the prostitute. They will bring her to ruin and leave her naked. They will eat her flesh and burn her with fire, for God has put it in their hearts to accomplish his purpose. So God's going to use these evil kings to accomplish his purpose, to once and for all destroy false religion. Isn't that interesting? By agreeing to hand her over to the beast, their royal authority, until God's words are fulfilled. The woman you saw is the great city that rules over the kings of the earth. And so false religion will come to an end. There will become a one world religion, and it will be the worship of the beast. So all of false religions that are out there today, they will cease to be, and you will have to worship only the beast. That is how the beast puts to death false religion. God says, I'm going to use these 10 wicked kings to destroy false religion. There will be a one world religion that will take place, those who take the mark. And we have to be careful, though. The word religion is not a bad word. Sometimes you'll hear people say Christianity is not a religion, it's a relationship. And actually Christianity is a religion. Christianity is true religion. There are false religions, but religion's not a bad thing. It comes from the Latin word religare, which means to bind. And to bind means relationally. So the way you have a relationship with God is through true religion. The way you have a relationship with God is through prayer, which is a religious activity. There's true prayer and there's false prayer. You have a relationship with God through worship. That's a religious activity. Through giving, that's a religious activity. Through serving, that's a religious activity. So there's nothing wrong with the word religion. The way you have relationship with God is through pure and true religion. False religion is the problem. Religiosity is the problem. And James tells us that pure and undefiled religion before God is taking care of the widows and the orphans and keeping ourselves unspotted from the world. And so may you and I strive to shun false religion, because false religion is spiritual adultery. And may you and I come to the place of true religion, taking care of the widows and the orphans, those who cannot take care of themselves, and keeping ourselves unspotted from the world, so that we are not a part of the Babylonian system, the man-made system, but we are a part of God's city, as he is King of kings and he is Lord of lords. So that is Revelation chapter 17. Next time, Revelation 18, it's attached to this chapter. We won't be dealing with Mystery Babylon from a spiritual standpoint, but from a commercial standpoint. So I look forward to seeing you. We're getting so close to finishing this great book of the Bible. God bless you. Well, I want to thank you so much for hopping on for just a moment to hear my heart on something. You know, there is a major crisis in America that I've kind of been briefed up on, and it's really blown me away. And the crisis that so many young families are facing is the rising cost in childcare. The numbers are incredible. Since 2020, the spike in childcare prices is really unbelievable. And that was one of the reasons this last year we launched Sheridan's Learning Center. And so many of you helped make that possible. We built classrooms, cafeterias, playground, just the whole thing. And, as we were looking at the numbers, there is an average cost in the city of Tulsa for childcare, which is about $1,100 a month. Now, think about that. $1,100 a month to send your one kid to childcare so you can go to work or whatever the case may be. And so at our program, we wanted to make sure that we tried to be affordable. We actually only charge $855 a month, and that's to cover our salaries for teachers and expenses that come with, just having kids. But what we've noticed is there's a lot of families that want to send their kids to our program because it's Christian based. And I always joke around, if you send your kid to our learning center, you're not going to have to worry about when they leave our learning center whether or not they're confused on their gender. We have chapel at our learning center. I get to see these kids every single day. We have a great program that my wife facilitates and leads. And what we've noticed, though, there's a lot of families. They need childcare. They want to send their kids to our program, but they're in this in between phase. They make too much for government assistance, but they don't make enough to be able to pay for sending their kid to childcare. And so they're scrambling, trying to, get grandma or grandpa or somebody to help watch on this day or that day. And so I'm coming to you because I'd like for you to help me address this crisis. This is not my program, it's my wife's program, but it's a part of our church, it's a part of our ministry. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to be able to give away 2 full 1-year scholarships to 2 families that I know right now that are in need. I'd also like to be able to give away some partial scholarships. See, like I said, there's a lot of families that they can't afford the full price, let alone the $1,100 that other places are charging, the $855 a month that we charge. And so I'd like to give away some partial scholarships. These are families that they make too much for government assistance, but they just don't make enough to be able to, have that type of expense. And so I'm coming to you and I'm just asking you, would you help me help our program by making a donation today? It can be any size, whether it's $25 or whether it's $500, whatever the case may be. Would you please consider just making a one-time donation that will go straight into our learning center to be able to help these families out? And here's what I'm going to do. If you make a donation this week, we're going to enter you into a drawing for the ultimate VIP experience with Eric Trump when he comes to our church March the 6th. So we're going to give away 2 ultimate VIP experience passes to anybody that gives this week, whatever amount. And it doesn't matter if you give $5, you give $500, you'll be entered into the drawing for that. Now, for anybody who gives over $1,000 this week towards the Learning Center, you give over $1,000, I am going to give you automatically 2 ultimate VIP experiences for the day. Now, this is not a ticket that you can go buy. This is something that I'm giving you 2 ultimate VIP experiences with Eric Trump that day. It'll be a full day. There will be lunch. There will be an afternoon thing, and we'll get you those details. This is not something that, you can just go out there and buy. And so how can you give? Well, you can give by going to our church's website, sheridan.church, and you just click on the Give tab. And whenever you give, whatever that is, in the comment box, just put Learning Center, put childcare. That way we know what it's going towards, because obviously we have people giving tithes and offerings towards the ministry. Let us know that this is for the childcare, and we'll enter you in to win 2 ultimate VIP experiences with Eric Trump. And like I said, if you give over $1,000 to the Learning Center, you're going to automatically receive those passes from me. It'll be a great experience, but you're going to be helping out families. I mean, you're really going to be helping out families, because staggering to me, $1,100 a month for childcare for one kid is just crazy. And like I said, we're doing our best to keep that cost down at $855 a month, but there are still families $855 a month is a very large amount for childcare, and they just can't afford the full thing. So we want to give away some partial scholarships. We want to give away some full scholarships, but we can only do that if you help us. And so I want to thank you in advance, because I know so many of you are going to do this. And those of you that help build the Learning Center, those classrooms and the playground and the cafeteria and just all the things that went into building it, thank you so much. You have made a huge difference and given us the opportunity to plant seeds into these kids every single day. You know, they are learning their ABCs, but they're also learning about the good news of Jesus Christ every day. So thank you for your partnership. Thank you for helping us help families. And I want you to know that God, I believe, will richly reward you for being a generous giver. And so I want to thank you. You can go to sheridan.church to give. God bless you guys.